housekeeping that, after a lot of sort of anguish and discussion and exchanging of emails and chats and messages, we will run our session from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Geshe will speak. So if anybody has to leave at 7, and there were a lot of people who felt they would have to, may leave, and then Geshe will take whatever questions that come. So the primary session is between 6 to 7. And I also wanted to introduce Norzin Dickey. On my screen, she's third from the top. She is a colleague of ours, and really, to use our Hindi phrase, karta dharta of these teachings. And I will be here through every teaching of his Geshe from start to finish, but she will now be on the driver's seat with Geshe. But we'll have Geshe set the ball rolling, and then Norzin will take over at 7 o'clock, and we will give her a little applause. So Geshe, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Norzin. Thank you, Srinam Jail, and thank you, everybody who is listening to me. I feel very happy when people are listening to me. I'm joking. So, Shantideva in his Bodhisattva way of life says that even when you recall just one day which is free from illness and having something to eat and physically and mentally well and good, that is the time to rejoice. Meaning that we human beings have this tendency either to devote a lot of time towards what has happened in the past and count our miseries or sufferings or upheavals, or we'll make some kind of plan for the future. At such and such time and period, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll accomplish this, and things like that. So in this way, whiling our time in the past and the future, we hardly live in the present. Yes, if you divide the time in a minute, precise way, then it's difficult even to make this division or distinction between what is past, present, and future. But generally speaking, or roughly speaking, it's really important to live in the moment. I'm not saying that you can't learn anything from the past. I'm not saying you should not plan for the future. But what I'm saying is, don't do this at the cost of your life now. Either life now means today, or this month, or this year, or this life. You already have it. Enjoy it as much as possible. Count your blessings rather than counting your miseries. Because our mind is very fickle and very sensitive. And if you keep on counting the miseries, you can easily make yourself unhappy. You can easily suffer. But if you start recognizing your own potential, the things you can do, and many other blessings, you can make yourself very happy. You don't have to become Bill Gates to be happy, or you don't have to even become a president or prime minister to be happy. And those people who are supposed to be on the high, pedestal, not necessarily happy. They may look happy, but what we are talking about is not just looking happy, but to be really happy. And that state of being really happy is in your hand, not in the hand of anybody. So you need to realize this. And as Rajiv has asked Norzin to take the pilot seat, so similarly, you need to take the pilot seat of your life. And you are the driver. And don't think that you don't have much money, you don't have much, fame and name, but you are a human being, not a cow or not dog. You have the same human intelligence. If you explore it, use it a little bit, you can really, bring about wonderful changes. Whatever is your state, you can be happy there. That is very, very important. And imagine, sometimes people come to me and ask me, Geshe, can you please teach meditation? I tell them this whole morning, you should imagine you're a cow. That is the meditation. Then you will realize what it means to be a human being. It's a question of comparison, it's comparison. My teacher used to tell me when I was in the ordinary school, secular school, my teacher used to tell me or tell our students that if you are getting very arrogant, then you look towards those people who are, in a much privileged higher position in terms of money, name, power, things like that. Then arrogance will get deflated. But if you are getting very discouraged, then you look towards those people who are in a much, much, much poorer state. So it's all, how you can adjust your mind and to be realistic. You can really, really make, yourself happy. I'm not saying, just exercise mind. You don't have to eat food. You don't have to wear clothes. I'm not saying that. You need these basic necessities, of course. But what I'm saying is the primary source of happiness is not outside, but it is inside. And the countless sufferings and problems of evils that we are fighting, that we are seeing in the world today, is because we have ignored the power of our mind. And especially we have ignored to, direct the course of our mind to the positive side. Instead, we have used the mind to the negative side for destruction, for division, you see. And we have this tendency to criticize others, divide others, belittle others on the basis of your egoism, in the name of your religion, your country, your nationality, and things like that, which is very, very unfortunate. That is why many of these Buddhist teachings, they talk about emptiness, which basically means that you are having all these problems because you are presenting yourself too much. Your ego is too big. But if you really think about the ultimate reality of everything, there is hardly anything, hardly any essence which you can hold on to. So with this meditation, this grasping of the self disappears. And once this grasping to the self disappears, you unite with the whole, the bigger, you call it whatever name you want to call it, but you join with this bigger reality, shunyata or universe or humanity, whatever. You will be able to see that, that sameness, that harmony, that unity. And from there, then the positive qualities like loving kindness and compassion easily emit from yourself. It will be a natural kind of outflow once you understand that ultimate reality. So what I'm trying to do is just showing you the direction. It's important to the more you release this grasping to yourself, the more you release, the more you think about others, the more you think about the positive things, you can really make a big difference. Right? So I think that is important in this time of COVID pandemic, and also in our daily life, we have all kinds of problems. So during those occasions, it's important not to get discouraged, not to develop a narrow-minded attitude, but rather develop a more open-ended mind, make yourself more expansive, reach out to others, talk to others, laugh with others, make some jokes. There's so many things we can do, so many things you can do, and you can make yourself very happy. That's important, very important. So your happiness is in your hand. And the only problem, as I said many times before, is that the main problem is not many of us know how to handle situations. We don't have the knowledge. And there are many of us, like me, who know a little bit, but we don't practice. That's the problem, If you just keep on reading the menu and don't eat, what is the use of visiting a restaurant? So similarly, if we read all this text and then don't apply it to yourself, and at the maximum, if you use it as another added, expertise in your dry intellectual knowledge, then it's not going to benefit us. It will be, in the worst case, it will again be used as a means to display your intellectual capacity and to debate with others. So therefore, the last time we were talking about, having selected the 4 deities, we discussed about selecting the three Pitakas, 3 set of discourses, and which was explained under the title, Discard All Doubts, Cherish Persistent Practice. So discard all doubt means that you should read the 3 Pitakas. If you can't read all the text, it's okay. So don't think that the tantric path is the short path. I must have access to the highest path. We, again, human beings, we have this tendency of overreaching things. You see, and I always tell people, if you want to dance, moving your hands and head, first make sure your feet is solidly on the ground. And if it is not there, then you will fall. So therefore, this is a wonderful advice that you don't worry about the higher tantric teachings, but study the three Pitakas, three set of discourses, which talks about meditation, which talks about wisdom, which talks about discipline, ethics, and things like that. It's very, very important. So therefore, do not have doubt means that you should really understand the teaching, meaning of the teaching, and remove all your doubts. Okay? So he says that this is the best for your career, for your life. And if your mind is infested with doubt, then it's difficult to achieve enlightenment. And therefore, you study, contemplate, meditate, make the meaning clear, and in this way, discard all the doubts. And then, having removed all the doubts, cherish persistent practice. That means make effort. As I said the other day, making effort means not just working hard, but it means delighting in, doing the positive virtuous practices. And that's extremely, extremely important. And he's also saying this because, as I said the other day, that many of us are very interested in, receiving all kind of initiations and receiving all kind of tantric teachings, and then without doing any practice, we just keep on counting. I received Kala Chakra 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, things like that, and then don't practice. Then in the name of tantric practice, you also adopt very funny behavior like drinking and eating meat, and even in the case of somebody who is said to be a celibate, engaging in union with women and things like that. And this is absolutely, these Kadampa teachings are kind of pure teachings. They call it pure teaching, not intermixing, the different categories of teachings in the wrong way. This is important because before Atisha came, Tibet was visited by many so-called Indian teachers who were visiting Tibet primarily for the sake of getting gold. I'm not saying that. It is in the history. And when the same request was made to Atisha to come and make the gold offering, she said, I'm not those teachers looking for gold, you see. So it was a really authentic teaching, and his main purpose was how to, refine the practice that was prevalent in Tibet. So therefore, he's making all these very important, pertinent instructions that don't worry about tantric teaching, focus on the practice of the three Pitakas. And he could precisely, I can't read all of this, we don't have time, but in this commentary, he clearly says that, look, there are people who say they are tantric practitioner, and then they have women, and then they have like 3-4 children, and they wear funny clothes, and they don't hesitate to sit high in a throne, even before the monks. Here we are not talking about human right, okay? We are talking about the proper Buddhist process of practice, in which those monks, especially the bhikshus and others who have so many layers of discipline, they are always treated higher, right? And then in a very disgraceful, they will recognize all their children as reincarnates, And unfortunately, these things are happening. You see, I'm not criticizing anybody in particular. That's not my job, but I'm just explaining what is here in the text, right? So therefore, it is important to understand why he said this. So this with these 2 lines, discard all doubts, cherish persistence in practice. This completes the 3rd chapter. So far we have finished the 3 chapters now. So cherish persistent practice means it's not enough to know, but practice with a delightful mind. Practice is important because the antidote, the obstacle against perseverance or effort is laziness. Laziness may be laziness in the sense of not doing anything. Laziness may be in the sense of postponing your practice. Again, we have this tendency of doing the funny, less useful activities first, just like going for a movie. And then after having done all this not so meaningful, mundane activities, then if there's some time left, probably I'll do some practice. In the case of doing retreat, also we say, oh, I'm busy, I have to do this, do that. Next year I'll do retreat, right? So the most important thing you postpone for the last. The least important thing, you do it first. So if this is seen from a business point of view, you are total failure. We are total failure. You see. I once attended a kind of consultancy on how to run the office and things like that. So there they said you must prioritize your job and do the most important thing first, right? And in the Tibetan society also, again, there is again a habit of like when you are young and energetic, physically, mentally, you are strong and fresh, then you do all the mundane activities, whatever is there to be done in the world. And when you have did all these things and nothing much is left to do, then they say, okay, now I'm retiring and becoming a monk. Right? When your eyes can't see much, you are disabled, your ear can't hear many of the teachings, then you say, now I'm going to become a monk, you see. So this is, becoming a monk is seen as the least important thing that you should do when nothing else is left to do. So these are all unhealthy indications. I'm not saying everybody should become monk or not, that's totally different thing. But what I'm saying is, this kind of Buddhist practice is important, whether you call it Buddhist practice or not, but this process of transforming your mind, transforming your mental attitude, seeing the reality as it is so crucial, so important. This is not a luxury. This is a necessity without which we can't live, right? And people who don't have this wider perspective of the reality, whoever they are, president, prime minister, whatever grand name they may have, but they all you have seen today, the thing that they do is division, spreading hatred, spreading this false thing called nationalism, for my country, this and that. And then, it's so sad. Majority of the poor people they are so gullible and so innocent. They can be led into anywhere, in any direction. They sheepishly follow, unfortunately. I feel so sad when I see this, right? And then on the other side, imagine if you have a really good teacher, good leader like His Holiness, how many people you can take on the right direction. So that's why these teachings are so important, right? Not only like we should organize these teachings, but we should come up with a plan, not to make everybody Buddhist, that is not our agenda, but make this universal messages content here available to everybody. You call it secular ethics or whatever you want to call it, right? So important, because when seen from the perspective of the Buddhist teaching, people are suffering unnecessarily. Many cases unnecessarily in the sense because we don't know what we should be doing. We always move in the wrong direction, search happiness and peace in the wrong direction. If you search, if you dig a big hill or mountain thinking that there is gold when there is none, how are you going to get gold? You will only suffer by working very hard, but you are not going to get anything. So therefore, search in the right place for happiness. If we don't want long-lasting happiness, then it is again our choice. हम लोग हिंदी में बोलता है ना, दिल में हाथ रख कर बोलो. Put your hand on the chest and ask this question: do I really want happiness? Do I really want a long-lasting happiness? Because it looks like we don't want long-lasting happiness. The way we live, it really looks like we don't want that long-lasting happiness. So if you really want long-lasting happiness, now it is time to think, from where are you going to get it? At the end of the day, yes, material facilities are needed, But the most important source is, the inner qualities, Yesterday yesterday or day before, I was explaining some Dharma to somebody. Then as a preparation to that, there was a sentence which I could not understand. Then I had to search the text and read that story. So that story was related to, that story was a different story. It was related to serving the parents and things like that. Then while looking for that, I found another story on pandemics at the, at the time of the previous life of the Buddha, not his lifetime, previous life of the Buddha. There was a pandemic. I mean, it has been happening for so many years, not only this year. That again we have to know. So then the Buddha clearly says that at such and such time in my previous lives, such and such pandemic was there. And then gradually he summarizes that by saying that the pandemic was controlled by people seriously and sincerely practicing loving kindness. Imagine. It was so moving. We hardly pay attention to the efficacy, the strength of practice of loving kindness and compassion. And he summarized that by saying that by genuinely living in harmony and practicing loving kindness, the pandemic was removed. Because from Buddhist viewpoint, these pandemics are also a result of disturbance created by many other negative forces also. It may be Deva, it may be Naga, it may be human beings wrongdoing, whatever. It's related to the negative force. And those negative forces can be transformed, can be changed through practice of loving kindness. If I try to make it more sensible, then what I'm saying is, imagine at this period of distress, if everybody has this loving kindness and extend their help and share their mirth, laugh and play and joke, you can really create happiness. You don't have to be free, just like a unbridled, horse running everywhere. That's what we think, We always think that, if this pandemic is not there, then I will be free, go everywhere like an unbridled wild horse. That's not the case. That's not the case. When your mind feels free, when you have the love and compassion, even within the confine of your room, it will be like expensive. The room will look big, and you can play with your friends and relatives and make jokes and read stories and sing and dance and do meditation, so many things. You have no sense of time. You have no sense of restriction from the space of the room. I'm telling you this. Because the so-called restriction of the room is so small. These are again our own, human creation. Yes, ordinarily we have, this labeling that the room is big or small, things like that. But again, primarily it's how you think. I once read a story which now came into my mind. There was a very poor farmer who lived in one room with his wife and 2-3 children. So he started thinking that I'm living in such a small room with all these family members. This is really awful. So he approached a saint or a sadhu for his advice. What should I do? I feel miserable with this small room. Then he said, no, I'll help you. You just keep one donkey in your room. And of course, if you keep a donkey, it's then horrible, But because he respected the teacher, he did that. Then the next time he said, I'm having more problems. Then said, okay, now give another, cow. Then again, of course, more problem. Then he said, okay, now the final thing is you keep one goat. So he kept one goat. So he tried to live with these 3 animals and the family members. It was like a hell for him. But because he was respecting the teacher, he listened to him, what he said. And then he finally said, no, really beyond my, capacity to cope with this, I'm feeling horrible. Then he said, okay, then take one animal out. He took one animal out. He said, oh, now I feel much happier. Then he said, take the second animal also out, third animal also out. Then after he said, now I'm completely happy. You see, the same room. So it's like that. I'm just trying to give you a hint, you see. So therefore, the mental perspective, right mental perspective, and enjoying what you have, not just sitting there complaining, take the best out of the situation. As I said, it may be just singing, dancing, enjoy, a little food, whatever it is. You can make yourself happy. Be like a innocent child. The innocent child, they want to cry, they will cry. They want to sing, they will sing. Finish. They're not so much worried what people will tell me, what will happen tomorrow. So sometimes it's important to adopt this childlike attitude. So that is what I wanted to say. So therefore, cherish persistent practice. Just as for the body, we have to eat regularly 3-4 times. So in the spiritual dimension also, the spiritual practice is the food for the mind. Now it is not just Buddhist is saying, but scientifically, the scientists are saying that the positive attitude is really the source of nourishment for the brain, and therefore for the whole physical, system and physical makeup. So it's important. So your happiness is in your hand. Make right choice. Okay, make right choice. Cherish persistent practice. So what I was saying was remove these obstructions, laziness of not doing anything, laziness of postponing, laziness of having attachment to inferior qualities, laziness of despising oneself, thinking that, oh, this may be important, but I, with such small intelligence, how can I do my practice? You belittle yourself. Now again, scientifically, it is found that the so-called genius, which we normally used to say, genius is born. Now they are saying genius is 99% perspiration. That means working hard. And I have in my own life saw people who right in the beginning of their study are not so sharp, not so intelligent, but they made this relentless perseverance and effort. And after 2-3 years, they become great students and good scholars. So you can change. Now scientists are talking about neuroplasticity. It's not just Buddhists. And Buddha said this a long time back. The scientists are now saying neuroplasticity, meaning that if you train, you can improve. Unlike the body. In the case of the body, however much training you give, it's good to give training, it's good to do exercise. But if you're doing this with the hope of, improving it to a limitless state, it is impossible. Impossible. And I used to tell people that even if you are the world's #1 gold medalist in long jump, let us say, and still if you continuously practice, you may be able to make some improvement. But the time will never come to you when you can say that I practice so much, now I can jump from one mountain to another mountain. It will never come, because the basis on which you are giving the training is limited, physical, restrictive. Anything that is material, physical is limited. So that's why great teachers like His Holiness is talking more about using that area like mind, which has limitless capacity to develop. And don't get bogged down to, training the body, which has a limited capacity, right? But we always do the other way. For the body, again here, we are not good. I'm not saying we are good. We are not good, but at least we are feeding the body 3-4 times in a day. Then in between, you might do a little bit of yoga. Again, not great, but a little bit of yoga, a little bit meditation, then a little bit of sleeping. So many things you do the body. But for the mind, hardly anything. Because we have this tendency to neglect anything that we cannot directly perceive with our senses. That is the problem. That is the problem. So therefore, it is important to take cognizance of the great role played by the mind. Your mind is your boss. And your boss must be good. That is common sense. So boss must be good means your boss is not enough to be a mind, but that mind should be more loving, more compassionate, having more wisdom. Then naturally you will flourish, you will be happy. But your boss, if the mind, which is your boss, is ruled by narrow-mindedness, anger, hatred, jealousy, and then not only you will suffer, but you will create a hell in the surrounding where you live, right? So which is very, very unfortunate to be born with this wonderful human intelligence and body, but then creating problem to others is unthinkable. It's really unthinkable. And you can make your, you can make your life meaningful just showing few smiles in a day. That will make you happy, make others happy, as he has always been kind of advocating, you see. Such a simple thing. You don't have to go around distributing money. If you don't have one, that's okay. But you can smile. You're born with this capacity to smile. And His Holiness says, don't worry, even if your teeth is a little bit yellow, no problem. so long as you show the smile. And human beings have this capacity to show this smile with the teeth. Not many other animals, I don't think, have that capacity. And then human beings have this wonderful long arms to embrace, to shake hand. No other animals, not many have this capacity to do so. So this long hand, His Holiness, and many other great teachers, if you look at, they say that if you look at your physical makeup, you can see that you are more towards non-violence, not towards violence. You see, as I said, the teeth is for smiling, the long arm is for embracing, you see, and then the brain is also basically for positive thinking. Positive thinking. The other day I saw an interview of His Holiness, and a question was asked to His Holiness, since His Holiness, you are a monk and you don't have this opportunity to do many of these funds which ordinary lay people can do. So how can you make your life happy? He said the real fun can be actualized when you use this human intelligence. Imagine, a wonderful answer, you see. If you use this human intelligence in the proper way, the real fun is there. The real joy is there, real happiness is there. And the problem is we always have this tendency to look outside to find happiness and things like that. And we don't have this habit of exploring within oneself. So therefore it is important to trust oneself and explore the inner resources, right? Then the next two lines we are going to read is thoroughly relinquish sleep, lethargy, and laziness, which I've explained a little bit the other day also. So in this, what Atisha is primarily saying is that to be able to make this persistent, effort and practice, you need to thoroughly relinquish sleep, if possible. Thoroughly means whenever it is not needed. Lethargy and laziness. You see, lethargy, laziness. As I said, laziness is not just not doing, anything, but also it is a distraction, Distraction, getting distracted to other things which is not important. And imagine the amount of distraction, amount of the time that we take in distraction. This reminds me a Tibetan teacher asking his student, are you practicing Dharma? Then the student says, yes, sir, I'm practicing Dharma. Then the teacher scolds him by saying, don't tell lie. I saw you getting distracted in the whole day. I saw you sleeping in the whole night. So when do you get time to do Dharma practice? Which is amazing, And we spend huge amount of time for sleeping, for eating food, for this, for that. There's not much time. And we don't create that time. We have time. Many people say, I have no time. We have time for so many other stupid things, but not time for such kind of, wonderful practices. So therefore, here, now when he says thoroughly relinquish sleep, lethargy, and laziness, one thing that you need to remember is, suppose you're going to die tomorrow, die tonight, what will you do? Because if we talk about, some short time, it's more convincing. We'll be able to understand it. We are not able to think or plan much. So if you are going to die tomorrow, for sure you're going to die tomorrow, what will you do? What will be your priority? Make money? Or fight with somebody? Or engage in telling lie? Or divisive talk? Things like that. I told you this story, not this time, but to others. Many of you have listened earlier, of a mother who came to see the Buddha with her child. And then the Buddha immediately said, your child is going to die in 1 year. Then the mother started weeping and the child clung to the skirt of the mother, and he also felt, of course, miserable. Somehow they left. After 6 months, they came back to Buddha, and Buddha asked, did you do any stupid thing? Did you do some negative deeds? Then the child, with a kind of sad face, he said, last time when I came to see you, you said I have only 1 year to live. So how can I dare to do anything destructive, negative? See, that is the lesson. How can I do anything destructive, negative, harmful? And then the Buddha said, that is the lesson that I wanted to teach you. I have no idea when you are going to die, but I said this to teach you a lesson. And he said, in my case, I do this practice and meditation every day. That's why, like in the Buddhist teaching, the first, after the Buddha got enlightened, the first teaching that he gave was the teaching on the Four Noble Truth. And out of the teaching of the Four Noble Truth, the first teaching was the truth of suffering. Out of the teaching on the truth of the suffering, the first feature was the feature of impermanence, which is death. So unless you have some understanding of this fragile body, which in a more philosophical term, we can use the word impermanence, but I use the word fragility or fragile. If you understand that, I mean, not just talking, if you understand that, develop the conviction, many of these unfortunate things, bad things, destructive things, harmful things that we do will vanish. And that's why Shantideva, in his Bodhisattva way of life, clearly says, how can an impermanent person develop attachment to another person who is impermanent? How can a person who is impermanent can develop hatred to another person who is impermanent? See, that's the meaning. That's the meaning. If somebody is on the deathbed and is sure that he's going to die after 2-3 hours, nobody will go to shoot him or harm him. If it is definite that he's going to die in 2-3 hours, nobody will try to kill him. But we don't, we think that we are all permanent, unless I shoot him, kill him, he will be there all the time, he will never die, right? So that the clear indication that we don't understand the reality, you see. If you really understand the reality, how fragile we are, and we are here in this world just for a short time, help each other, enjoy your life. When you can bring, His Holiness always says, with this kind of genuine practice of loving kindness and compassion and harmony, we can bring kind of heaven, kind of nirvana on this earth itself. We're not talking about here we are not talking about the nirvana, which is the total cessation of all the negative emotions and the seeds. We are not talking about that, but a humanly kind of heaven. Imagine if nobody kills each other, nobody rapes, which has become so unfortunate these days. Total stupidity, madness, right? So there's not much need for us to try to understand many profound things. Many of these so-called seemingly small things which we experience in our daily life. If you understand that, your attitude will change. Your attitude, whenever you see somebody, oh, this person is going to die, definitely, however he or she is posing. But if you have this understanding that this person, whoever he is, arrogant, humble, rich, poor, whatever, is going to die very soon, when nobody knows, it may be tomorrow. When you have this understanding, and when you have this understanding that I may be meeting with this person, maybe the first and the last thing, you will try to create some kind of, happy atmosphere. with that person, right? So that will really change your attitude. It's so important, so important. So that's important. So therefore, here Atisha was saying that this human life, which is impermanent and fragile, but very precious, very difficult to find. Very difficult to find. Luckily, we found it, but unfortunately, we are not sure how long you're going to live. Therefore, it is important to take care of it in terms of your physical health, in terms of your mental health. It's highly, highly, cherish it, take care of it. Take care of it means not just washing your body and eating food, like Shantideva again says, if you read, probably next time you'll get a time to read that text also, Shiksha Samuchaya, another wonderful piece by Shantideva, where he says that protecting your body means helping others. Helping others. Offering your service to others. Right? So that's the best way of protecting it for this life and for many lives to come. So therefore, what I'm saying here is, or what Atisha is saying here is, in order to help you not to develop excessive sleep and lethargy and laziness, you must recognize this preciousness of human life, which is difficult to find. So as Shantideva says in his book, that this precious human life, which is like a boat to cross the ocean of suffering, it's difficult to find this boat again and again. You stupid, this is not time to sleep. You stupid, this is not time to sleep. And in a way, unfortunately, we are innocently stupid. We always plan, oh, I'm going to live a long, long life. I'll do this, do that, right? So therefore, it's important to recognize this fact. I found this precious human life. And in the case of most of us, if we make the effort, we also have these facilities to do our Dharma practice. But how long we are going to live, not sure. So therefore, this is not time to sleep. This is time to practice. It's really like finding a job that you have been looking for a long, long time. You're unemployed and penniless and looking for a job. And then suddenly, if you see an advertisement which is suitable for you, where you have a possibility to get the job, without a second thought and hesitation, you will just go to find that job. Immediately submit your application or go to the relevant offices, whatever you will do. You will not say that, oh, let me sleep fast, and the lethargy and laziness and everything will disappear. So likewise, once you recognize the preciousness of this human life, what a wonderful thing you can do with this human intelligence, then the sleep and lethargy and laziness will go away. Laziness will go away. Just like many people who are unfortunately suffering in a concentration camp or a prison, they hardly get sleep because they have this continuous awareness of the difficult surrounding situation, you see. So that's why in Buddhism also this cycle of existence, this samsara has been compared to a prison. We don't have that awareness, therefore we want to sleep peacefully, right? So therefore, recognize that this precious human life is very difficult. Moreover, even in the case of those people who found this precious human life, there are not many fortunate people who have encountered this precious teaching of the Buddha. Your life is impermanent and it's ebbing out, it's slipping away from your hand, just like the waves of an ocean. So therefore, now you should have a dialogue with your mind. Change your way of thinking and concentrate on what is important. And don't get distracted for meaningless practices. Start your practice and obtain that secure place, meaning that once you do that genuine mental practice, you will develop this sense of security and safe. These days we say distance yourself, maintain this much distance and be safe. That we are talking about physical safety. But here what we are talking about is mental safety. Once you minimize or reduce all these negative emotions, you will find that inner security, happiness, and safety. It's very, very important. Therefore, sleep and torpor, these are meaningless. So having found this precious teaching and met these three objects of refuge, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, found this precious human life, this is the time to plan for your long-term course of life, future life. So don't be lazy in terms of your practice. Give up or abandon sleep, torpor, laziness. The reason he says is, don't get bogged down just thinking about this life. And he says, this life, however you will deal with it, it's not that difficult. We are making it difficult because of the greed, because of this stupid sense of competition. Others have this, I must have this. Others are getting this much salary, I should also get this salary, right? And you're killing yourself. If you read this text by Aryadeva, 400 verses, he says, because of your mismanaged way of life, you are actually keeping yourself as a hostage to get these material benefits. And he says, don't put yourself as a hostage just to get these material things, right? So therefore he says, this life is not so difficult. If you know how to manage it, you can somehow survive. Even dogs are surviving. They don't have a big house. They don't have any, bank balance. It's not just a dog, the cows and the birds, they don't have any sense of bank balance or ATM card or all these, stupid or fancy things that human beings have. They are able to survive. Why not we? So the great practitioners like Milarepa, that's why they say that you should ostracize or banish yourself from the human society and live among the society of the dogs. Then you will find the status among the higher beings. Meaning that if you relinquish little of this nonsense that we have in our human life and make some hardship practice, that is the way you can reach the higher spiritual levels, right? That may not be that easy for all of us, but that is the way we should do. And he says this habit of sleeping too much is useless. A little bit okay, but too much. And with laziness, he says there are many cases. If you look in our ordinary life, there are many cases of lazy people who have just destroyed their life, not being able to achieve anything, able to do anything. And then, of course, whether it's the life of a human being or nirvana, whatever we want to achieve, the one major factor that is responsible for achieving that is relentless effort. Relentless effort. As the great Tibetan teacher Kongtang Jambe Yang, he says, for one day, you get so excited for Dharma practice that you even forget food and make effort. And after 3 days, there is no sign of your interest in Dharma practice. And you will be then, your life will be ruled by forgetfulness and distraction. And such person will achieve nothing. Therefore, you should make effort just like a running stream, running river. The running river or running stream, they will run the whole day and whole night. The running stream and river will never say that now it is night, I will stop running. It is my time to sleep. They will never say. They will continue to flow. So similarly, we should also try to make continuous practice. Then there will be spiritual development. Short-lived attempt is probably better than nothing, but it will not reach anywhere. Why? Because our mind is heavily conditioned by negative emotions for many lifetimes, right? So therefore, to change this heavily addicted mental habit and make it habituated with the positive ways of life, positive thinking, positive emotions is not an easy task. It's an uphill task. So unless you make repeated attempt, it's difficult to change. Therefore, make that repeated effort. So this completes chapter 4. Completes chapter 4. Then the next chapter is talks about with mindfulness, introspection, and care. Always guard the doors of the senses. Repeatedly examine your mind 3 times a day and 3 times a night. Repeatedly examine your mind 3 times a day and 3 times a night. So here it is. Here it is. With mindfulness, introspection, and care. Mindfulness. Mindfulness means, especially here, mindfulness means not to let the positive practices in which your mind is habituated, not to let your mind forget that practice. Mindfulness means any object in which you are familiar, not to forget it. So this practice of mindfulness has the habit of, has the capacity of not to let you get distracted. If you're mindful of your practice all the time, if you remain alert and aware, then you will not get distracted. We get distracted because our mind is not alert, and anything that comes within the purview of your senses, you get distracted. So therefore, this mindfulness is a practice that you do with those positive practices in which you are familiar, number one. Number two, not forgetting it. Number three, not letting yourself get distracted. So practice of mindfulness has 3 features. 3 features. So have that mindfulness with mindfulness. And introspection means judging the state of your mind, judging the state of your body. What am I doing now physically? What am I thinking now mentally? To guard, to introspect. Because if you don't have this introspection, as soon as you weaken or relax your introspection, the mindfulness will also slip away. You will also forget your practice of mindfulness. And when this mindfulness practice degenerates, then you will be acting randomly without any check and balance practice. So therefore, it is important to let this mindfulness put in the house of the mind. Log it in the house of the mind. Log the mindfulness in the house of the mind. And then with this introspection, you should guard the thieves and robbers that might be coming to take that mindfulness out. So introspection is really like the guardian, gatekeeper. Mindfulness ko andar dal ke, put the mindfulness inside your house, inside your house of mind, and then the introspection should, like a gatekeeper, guard it, not to let the mindfulness forget the object of meditation. In addition to that, you should also have care or heedfulness. Care and heedfulness means to let your mind not to be ruled by the negative emotions, and helping it to continuously stay in that perseverance or effort in doing the positive practices. So these 3 are very, very important. And Shantideva, at some point, he says, with folded hand, I'm requesting you to practice these 3 things. These 3 things are so important, so important. So therefore, with mindfulness, introspection, and care, and these 3 are so important because we are in the samsara, we are in the prison of samsara. We are having so many problems in general, and especially these days we have pandemics and so many things. So you need to remain alert, mindfulness, wear mask, wash your hand, whatever, If you forget a little bit, don't put the mask, don't keep the distance, don't wash your hand. Heaven knows who is there near you carrying that virus. If you forget a little bit, you might become a victim. This is a wonderful example. So our whole life is like that. Okay. So always guard the door of the senses. Always guard. Now, here I will speak a little bit more next time, because today we are living in a world where we are letting our senses run wild in the pursuit of material, accumulation. And that's why we are having all these so-called modern diseases, which I will speak a little bit more next time. So today I'll stop here. And if there are some questions, then let me know. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Geshe Lhakdor. Please ask your questions, everyone. Hi, please ask your questions. You just have to raise your hands. If you go to the participants icon, you have to raise your hands and I'll see you and I'll send a request to unmute. Please do take this opportunity. Geshe, someone's requested you to please consolidate the 3 points again.
3 points: mindfulness, introspection, and heedfulness.
Lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw him. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lata Sonpal. Okay.
Sonpal, my very old friend. She's from Miami.
Okay. I've sent a request for unmuting. Lataji, you have to unmute.
Okay. Thank you. Geshe Lhakdor, namaste.
Namaste. Jai Shri Ram.
My question is when they're saying don't sleep, and then neuroscientists are saying you have to have at least as an adult 7 to 8 hours of sleep to have your brain rest, and His Holiness says that he sleeps 9 hours.
Yes.
So there's a little contradiction here. Can you please clarify it?
Yes, very good observation. And I also mentioning, I was reading the text which says thoroughly avoid sleeping, things like that, but I don't think he's saying don't sleep at all. But don't get obsessed with sleeping unnecessarily. I think there is the meaning. But ordinarily we sleep even at those times when it's not time for us to sleep. For example, sleeping like many hours in a day when there is no need, Of course, in certain occasions you might need to sleep even in the day, but I'm saying on those occasions, especially in today's modern world, people, if you look at the natural rhythm, then night is the time to sleep, day is the time to wake up. But now the so-called modern people, they hardly sleep in the night, whatever they may be doing, I don't know, but they sleep in the day. So that is actually, I think, not good for health. I think scientists can also say this is not good for health. So anyway, the main answer is that yes, just to nourish your body. There are other texts also, not only His Holiness, what His Holiness said or what scientists found. There are other Buddhist texts also which say that during the midnight you should sleep to nourish your health or, nourish your constituencies and elements. So I think, so the point here is not to sleep more than needed, not to sleep out of addiction. Because we can get addicted. You see, if you don't put a limit to sleep, you can get addicted to it. And your brains will become, less and less functioning, and you will feel like sleeping more and more. Okay.
Next we have Dinara.
I have the question. How we can use the time of the sleep, eating, washing, and rest time for the practice? Because we need to make this thing, sleep, eat, wash. No, how we can use this time for our practice?
No, that you need to see how important it is. Right now you're doing like washing, sleeping, because you see this important. And the spiritual practice not so important. But once you start seeing the spiritual practice is very important, while you have to, wash and sleep and all these things you have to do, but you will definitely find time to do practice. So you need to find time. Unless you make an effort to find time, you will never get time, because you will always get something stupid to do. And I found, it's not a problem with you or other friends, but in my case also, sometimes when I judge myself, I'm living alone in a small room, but even in that small room, if you just make yourself confused, you have so many things to do, wash these small pieces of cloth, go to the bathroom, wash your body, come back, make a tea, it's endless. It's really endless. So some of these things you need to stop. Some of these things which is not important, you need to stop. What is important? What is really necessary? And what is not really necessary? There is the question. Of course, what is really necessary is you have to cook food. You have to sleep a little bit. But there are many things you are doing which is really not necessary. The last time I told you there, I have one friend who was a kind of celebrity, and she hardly had any time when she was a celebrity, and she had to do all this ceaseless socializing, and after she started doing Buddhist practice, then she was surprised when she stopped all this, partying and socializing, and she was surprised to find that she has so much time. So you need to stop some of these stupid things, not useful things. Okay.
Kabirji, you can ask your question.
Geshe,
oh, Kabirji, namaskar.
Geshe, I'd like some more input on mindfulness, introspection, and heedfulness, because it's translated in different ways in different texts. For example, I have in Geshe Dargela's book, Recollection, Alertness, Watchfulness. Often we hear of introspection as that which specifically looks out for mental excitation, and dullness, mental sinking. You translated it a little different. Could you, based on your understanding, your knowledge of Tibetan, tell us what the Tibetan words actually mean exactly?
For what? Which word?
For mindfulness, introspection, heedfulness.
No, that is exactly what I was explaining to you. I was just following the Tibetan text very strictly.
Okay.
Where it says mindfulness is 3 features. 1, it has to engage with an object with which it is familiar, and then not forgetting that object in which you have familiarity. And then 3rd, not letting your mind get distracted. So that is the kind of definition or explanation of the mindfulness, possessing 3 features. And then when you say dullness, that is different. That is not here in this case. Here we are talking about mindfulness, and then this introspection, or some people say conscientiousness. There is a problem with the English word also, you see. So here the second, introspection or conscientiousness, whichever word you use, but it is basically examining what your body is doing, what your mind is thinking, and then as I said, not letting the mindfulness go away from your mind, guarding the mindful practice. And then the heedfulness or carefulness means not letting your mind controlled by afflictive emotions. And Kabir, you're right, because there may be a little bit different explanations with the heedfulness also. I remember reading one text which says delighting in virtuous practices. Here in this case, it says not letting your mind controlled by the afflictive emotions, more or less saying the same thing, but in a different way. So.
Okay. So we have 2 more questions, one by Jackie, and then there's a question in the chat by Tamar Shalit. So I'll read that to you, Geshe. We'll take in and Jackie. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering how to make sleep more virtuous. Is there something we could think of before we go to sleep, or we spend so much time sleeping, and it seems like a real waste not to use it in a better way. And I can't control my dreams. So if there's anything.
Very good question. Very good question. In the mind and mental factors, there are 3 mental factors which is called changeable mental factors. And out of these 4 changeable mental factors, one is sleep. So this sleep is called changeable mental factor because you can, depending upon your motivation, you can change it or make it negative or make it positive. So therefore your question is wonderful because many practitioners, they really do that, and it is constantly encouraged in the Buddhist text to do that practice. That means just before sleeping you develop really positive motivation, and through that way you can transform and change that the sleep whole night as a virtuous practices, very skillful practice. And for example, just before going to sleep, if you watch a horror movie, it is very likely the whole night you might get those scenes of fighting and killing and shooting. And contrarily, if you visualize His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Buddha, it's also very likely that you will see him again few times in the in the sleep also. It really happens. In my case also, I'm not a great practitioner, but sometimes out of fun I do it. And you get that, the mental strong motivation is very, very important, very important. Clever way of doing practice. Yeah, this is a good question because when you do virtuous, good practice, it's not enough just to make effort, but you should also be intelligent how to do it, And in Lamrim Chimo, there is a teaching which says that the learned people, even if they commit a heavy sin, it'll become a light sin. And not so intelligent people, even if they do commit a small sin, it'll become a heavy sin. And there he gives the example of a piece of iron of same weight, but if you flatten it and put it on the surface of the sea, it will not sink. So the heavy negative deeds done by learned person or wise person is like that. They know how to purify it. So therefore it will not drag you down to the negative state of existence. But if you don't know how to purify these negative deeds, then it's really like that same piece of iron. If you make it a ball and throw it in the water, it will just go down straight to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, Krishna. Tamar Shalef has asked you about deities. And Tamar asked, how does it go with logic and reason? And Tamar is wondering if it's just a matter of belief. I mean, the deities.
There are two ways of answering. One is everything is a matter of belief, not just deities. If you marry somebody and thinks that your husband or wife is handsome or beautiful, it's a matter of belief. You may be thinking that your husband or wife is handsome or beautiful. Others may be thinking, oh, not so handsome, not so ugly. It's a matter of belief. So I would say, first of all, everything is based on the belief. Very much. That's why we say in Buddhism, everything is designated by the mind, right? Number one. Number two, in the case of deities, when actually I'm glad that you asked this question, because this process of visualizing deities and drawing tanka and painted mandala, it looks like exotic and mystical and mythological and things like that. But if you look carefully, then it's a really, I think it's a very clever, intelligent way, a way actually we are practicing in the modern life. When you teach your students, especially young kids, you come with all this kind of color pencils and let them draw all these fancy pictures, with different colors, and that way they are able to learn easily. So similarly, these drawings with tankas and mandalas, it's only a means and method to explain so many things. So similarly, in the case of deities also, there may be, really deities who have this higher spiritual realization, but it is also not necessary that it's blue, or green, deity sitting up there, not moving and waiting to help you or harm you, never changing. I don't think it's like that. the colors have a representation. Like, for example, the white symbolizes peace, and the yellow symbolizes increase, and things like that. The colors have a meaning. And then these deities are visualized in terms of how best that practitioners can be helped. For example, there are some of us who are very fond of peaceful environment, peaceful practices. For such people, if you think also about a peaceful Avalokiteshvara, you know, with a wonderful look and beautiful eye, you know, you feel very happy. Then there are others who think that unless I have a very, you know, wrathful and forceful, you know, deity, my negative emotions cannot be controlled, you know. And then in that case, it is better for them to visualize a wrathful deity, and then they think that their negative emotions are controlled. So these are like basically to find different ways, different means to help you tame your mind. Because, you know, I mean, as you are all aware that in my own case, I'm really, the more I meet people and talk to them, the more I'm amazed, the diversity, the countless mental inclination, disposition, sensitivity, receptivity is just mind-boggling. It's amazing, you see. For some people, with a slight exchange of words, they get angry, you know. For some people, even if you say many nasty things, they still keep on smiling, you know. So there are so many different dispositions and inclinations and capacities. So the Buddha gave the so-called 84,000 classes of teaching to deal with all these diverse mental dispositions. That is, he cannot just give one teaching to everybody. There are kindergarten going, you know, students. There are, you know, middle school going, you know, students, high school going students, PhD students, you know, highly like academics. So for all these people, you know, you have to give different levels of teaching, not to confuse people, but because of the need of the people. Okay.
Isha, there's one more question. Will you take that? Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Igor, I'm sending your request to unmute.
Oh, Igor.
Oh, touch delay.
Yeah.
Kusudevo imbe.
Kusudevo yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you for this invaluable teaching. You said before that from previous life of Buddha, that pandemic was overcome through the practice of loving kindness.
Yes.
And could you please give some precious instruction of practicing loving kindness and the bodhicitta during these times, and maybe in connection with Arya Chenrezig also?
As I briefly mentioned earlier, if you look at the reality of all kinds of life, including human life, how fragile we are, you know, that we are born with problems, we get sick, we get old age, and then finally we die. And in between this and that kind of problems there, when you see all these realities, you have left with nothing but to develop some kind of sympathy, love, and compassion, you see. And then also, according to Buddhism, we say that irrespective of whether you know these people today or not, but they have been connected with you for many, many lifetimes. They've acted as your brother, sister, you know, so many times. So it is not good idea to forget them because you don't recognize them today. Even in this one lifetime, there are cases of people who got, you know, separated and may not recognize each other, but that is not a justification to say I don't care about them. And not only that, in this present life also, we are so closely connected to each other. There is hardly any room for, you know, differentiation. You see, the things that I'm enjoying here in Dharamsala comes from America or from China or whatever. You know, so many things come from other people, you see. And without that kind of great network, you know, of people helping each other, struggling each other, we cannot think about surviving. So therefore, we should always remember their kindness. Now, one question normally asked is, yes, you get all this benefit, but you get this benefit, you know, because you pay money. they have not necessarily made this specially for you. That is a stupid question. In that case, we should not respect the Dharma also, because Dharma has no motivation to benefit you. In that case, we should not respect the dollars also. The dollars have no motivation to benefit you. But the fact that you are getting benefit, that's enough for you to see that as something important, valuable, and precious. So similarly, we get so much benefit from all these other sentient beings. We cannot really think about surviving, without depending on other people's kindness. And so therefore, that loving kindness, as I said the other day, that the love, as somebody said, love is a quality, or loving kindness is a quality which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Imagine that. This is a very powerful saying, you see. Love is a quality which the blind can see and the deaf can hear. It can touch everybody. It can touch everybody. So that's the most important quality. And therefore, the Buddha summarized his teaching by saying that if you have one quality in the palm of your hand, you have all the qualities in the palm of your hand. What is that quality? Great compassion. And amazing, if you have great compassion, what he's saying is, if you have great compassion, how can you exploit others? How can you cheat others? Right? All these wrongdoings and harms that we normally do will automatically cease if you have one quality. The problem is we are not able to develop even this one quality, And then in order to make your practice effective, that in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there are practices of especially, developing this compassion in relation to deity like Avalokiteshvara, who is seen as a deity of compassion and things like that. So there are many visualizations. But the most effective way we should do is you develop compassion. The other day I briefly touched about the 3 types of compassion. You develop compassion by suffering, by seeing the sufferings of sentient beings. You develop compassion by seeing the impermanent nature of sentient beings. You develop compassion towards sentient beings because of their having no independent inherent existence. So basically saying, when you see the many levels of reality of these sentient beings, you will naturally develop this great compassion or loving kindness. Okay?
So, Geshe, thank you so much, Geshe. We are really fortunate that we have your teachings. And now that we look forward to a weekend, I hope it's a weekend of reflections and actions for all of us.
No, next weekend I'm going for a holiday.
Oh, but since it's virtual, we'll just go with you.
I'm joking.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.